Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Riding Horses. I'm out here this morning. It's a pretty breezy day today. We're out here on Miss Purina. I've been filming the last couple episodes with my son Colt. Obviously he's not here today, he's actually in school. So I'm out here today on this gray mare, and what I'm going to be working on today is just helping this mare lope some straight lines. I've had a lot of people ask me here just recently about overbending a horse, about getting a horse bent so much that you're going to eventually lose your straightness. So I just wanted to talk a little bit today about why I bend these horses so much, but show how I can use it when I'm loping these straight lines. So I'll just start out with what I'm normally doing. Even on this mare's obviously not green anymore, but I still find myself out here riding this mare around, bending her some. And the whole idea behind this, guys, and the reason we start with bending these horses to begin with, is if we are going to ask them to roll up in the bridle, if I'm going to ask this mare to lope a straight line and roll up in the bridle a little bit, it's a lot easier for me to get this mare, or in my opinion, it's a lot easier to get any horse to turn loose and soften their neck and roll up in the bridle if I add a little bit of lateral to it. So today, really what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking this roller up here to a trot. So when I'm trotting my horse around like this is pretty much what a lot of people are saying to me is overbent. You got your horse bent this much. I'll go ahead and roll her up to a lope. I'm going to bend her quite a bit right here. And a lot of people are going to say in that position that it's really easy for this horse, for their shoulder to just be drifting that direction all the time. And I can see how that would be the case if you didn't have a horse that wanted to follow a feel. When I'm picking up on my horse like that and just bending her here, really that's my way of picking that left shoulder up and moving it over to the right, and vice versa the other way. I've got a lot of bend right there, but then I'll also go to this extreme, because I have sat on horses before in the past where I had their nose right there and I was wanting to go this direction and they were running off that direction as hard as they could go, and I couldn't stop them, I couldn't turn them. A horse that'll follow their feel or follow their nose and follow a feel through my reins, there's times I'll pick my horse up right here, and primarily using my right rein right there, I'm just going to ask that mare to step to that hand. So if I ever had her in this position, what I want to be able to do, and I want to be able to do it specifically with my direct rein, I want to be able to hold that much bend but still get that shoulder to step to my hand if I need to. And same way this way. I'm not going to practice turning my horse around a lot with this much bend, but if I asked for it, my horse would be willing to give it. And if my horse is in that frame of mind, then if I have that much bend, my horse is just waiting for me to speak whatever I'm trying to say through my hand, primarily through that direct rein, as to where she needs to go. So she's not taking advantage of the fact that I've got her bent this much and the door's opened where the shoulder can drift this way. She's just bending her body to wherever I'm asking her to be, and she's waiting for me to speak what I'm trying to share with her through my reins as to where she needs to be, specifically with her shoulder. So what I did, I've got a couple spots here on the ground that I've taken a little drag. So I've got me some straight lines. And I just did this so I can kind of gauge, and it'll make things a little bit more exact for me, a little bit more specific for me as to how straight my horse is, or how unstraight, if that's a word, my horse is. So to start with, I'm just going to ride on this path. I got another one right over there. The reason I'll just come off this one. So I don't know, that's probably 20 foot apart. And the reason I've got that distance in there is when I get to the end, if I don't want to stop and I want to keep going, I can just, they're far enough apart, I could stay at a lope and get right back on that one over there. And again, it's nothing more than just a visual for me to be able to see where I'm going. Even though I'm supposed to be looking where I'm headed, I can still in my peripheral vision see these lines on the ground from that drag and kind of gauge a little bit better as to where my horse is at. Is their shoulder stuck out to one side? So if I'm on a pretty green horse, I'm probably going to start out, guys, with my hands a little bit wider and not be here so much. And the reason my hands would be wider, I'll go ahead and turn towards the camera here. If my horse is wanting to drift right or left and my hands are out here, then if that horse drifts to the left because my hand is out here a little bit wider to the right, then it's going to be easier for me to stop that drift to the left. Basically, I can stop it quicker, and vice versa the other way. So I'm just going to roll her up to a trot. I'm going to trot up and down. I won't go all the way to the end here at a trot. But as I'm trotting right here, what I'm trying to do is just get a feel for where my horse is at. I've got my hands about shoulder width apart. If I didn't have these lines here on the ground from this drag, I'd try to stay focused on one of those posts down there and try to feel this horse underneath me. The line here is going to make it where I don't just have to feel it, I can kind of see it. So I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to find a place where I just set my hand down, and we'll see how much she drifts. Okay, so she's drifting here. I'm going to pick her up, move her back over here, and I'm just going to trot clear on down here to this post. Let this post stop her. So I'm not riding my horses, guys, to the point where I'm wanting to hold on to them all the time. Okay, it'd be really easy for me to stay right here and hold on to them all the time, but I'd like to get to a point where I could turn loose of them and they'd stay between my reins a little better, where I didn't feel like I had to hold on to them so much. So here she's drifting this way. I'm just going to pick that hand up, bring that shoulder back over here to this track right here, and again I'm just going to go straight to this post down here. What I'm thinking is if my hand stays centered over this horse's neck right here, I'd like for this horse to just stay in a straight line all the way to the other end. That's what I'm after. As I'm going, if the shoulder's drifting this way, I can pick it up. If the hip's moving over one way or the other, I can move it around. So that right there, that's just me having the ability to move this end. I already showed you what it looks like for me to pick up on their shoulder. But I think really what it is, as many circles, I'm just going to roll this mare up to a lope a couple circles here, and then I'll come out of that circle onto that straight line. As many circles as I lope, when I'm loping to the left, I want my horse's nose tipped over here to the left a little bit. I don't want her to hold it here all the time, but you can see she'll let me pick it up. So if all my horse is used to me doing at a lope is loping in circles, when I roll them up in the bridle, they might be a little bit lost when I straighten them out and just ask them to go lope a straight line. So now that I'm up here to lope, there I can feel that right shoulder was drifting a little bit to the right. So if I take my hand right there, I can pick that shoulder up pretty easy. Come back out of it here on this line. Now I'm going to roll her up in the bridle a little bit more and just ask her to lope all the way down here to this gate. I think the concept of straightness for me is a matter of me practicing that as much as I practice asking these horses to bend lateral to get them soft. If I want this mare to really get good at loping some straight lines, get a little bit wider here and I'll get on this path over here that's a little bit further from the camera. So you can see, I'll just turn here so the camera can see. I'm loping down there with my hands about right there, guys. Okay? Trying to help this mare be ready to help her if I need to. And really all I'm thinking is, I want her soft in my hands, but I need to go, if I'm out here loping a ton of circles, to get my horse really good at loping those circles, then I probably ought to have the same approach, loping these straight lines. So again, you can see my hands right there about shoulder width apart. Just come down to a walk right there. What I want to try to do is just make the straight line a little bit more of a priority. And if there's any place between the north end of this arena and the south end of this arena that I want to stop, I'm going to make a big deal out of this mare stopping straight, or even right there as I go to slow down, I just make sure I slow down and I keep heading straight the direction I was. I'm going to lope her down here and we'll lope to the other end and I'll change my hands a little bit. So I'm just going to take my hands this time and bring them in here a little closer together. I've still got my reins in both hands, but I'm not in this position. So basically that's going to be a little bit closer to what it would be like if I had both reins in one hand. Now if I take this hand and set it right here, she's drifting this way. So I'm going to pick her up I move her back over here, and I'm just gonna go all the way to the end. Let her stop there. We'll do that on the left lead. So my hands are closer together here. I'm going to set my hand down right here on her neck and just see if she'll go all the way to the middle of this gate. If I could get by with just bending a horse a little bit to get him soft, guys, that's probably all I would do. But what I have found, the manner in which I ride horses, if I can get those horses willing to bend a lot, it's going to give me the opportunity to get those horses to be softer and turn loose of more of that resistance. The cool thing is, I'm riding with 2 reins. So if I ever want to stop the bend this way, I can use my outside rein, my indirect rein, to help with that. So let me try this. It's a little chilly out here, so that's why I got these gloves on. I'm gonna go to more of one-handed version here. So I'm gonna have both reins in one hand and be willing to help. It's not like I can't pick up with both hands if I need to. We'll get over here on this track right here. So I'm just gonna lope all the way down to that gate. I might start out this time here two-handed just to get her started. Then I might just go ahead and go here. My hand centered over the middle of her neck. She's drifting a little bit to the right. I'm just gonna pick her up right there, bring her back. The fun part for me is to make sure that I give her a chance. We'll start off one-handed this time. Okay, so if I'm right here, she's drifting a little right, pick her up and bring her back. That felt pretty good. For the most part, she felt pretty straight underneath me. I'm gonna go on the left lead again. Go ahead and hold my reins like this. That was much better. So if I get down here to one end, let's say this mare's really drifting bad to the right, then I'm probably gonna turn her the opposite direction. That time she loped down there with my hand right here. She didn't drift at all to the right. I'll even find myself doing this right here. I spend so much time picking up on these horses, guys, and moving them like this, moving their body around, that I literally have to remind myself there's gonna be a time where I'm gonna roll my horse up in that bridle like that, and I need my horse prepared to just stay straight between those reins and just travel straight. What I've found is it's easier to get my horse to travel straight like that out of trot a lot of times than it is out of walk. Out of walk, sometimes I don't have enough forward motion for my horse to be thinking about traveling anywhere. I get them rolled up in the bridle like this, and if they're not very soft, I can't hardly even keep them going. I'm pedaling about every step, and they're constantly thinking, which way do you want to go, right or left? So I'm looking at it this way. I'm going to have to work on this at a walk. I'm going to have to work at it at a trot, and I'm going to have to work at it a bunch at a lope. My ultimate goal is to get her really good at a lope. But I'm sure starting to see the value in this mare just being able to walk a straight line, rolled up in the bridle like that. And when I go to roll her up in the bridle, get down here and come back to the camera. If I'm riding like this, I'll just do it one-handed. If I pick her up like this, I don't want her first move to be, when I come like this, okay, which way am I fixing to go, right or left? If my hand is centered over her neck, it's really easy to help two-handed like this. But I'm just gonna stop right here and show you guys coming at the camera. If I don't have a hold of my horse and then I take a hold of her, I turn loose of her, I take a hold of her, I turn loose of her. All I'm trying to see, guys, is if I have my horse in a frame of mind, if my reins are balanced, if I'm not shorter on one or drawn on one more than the other, I just simply want my horses really good at traveling in a straight line. And if I roll you up in the bridle and I didn't ask you to turn, I didn't ask you to move lateral in any direction, you just roll up in the bridle and keep right on traveling straight. But somebody like me that's out here constantly bending their horses, again, I've got to remind myself that I'm going to have to practice that as much as I practice loping those darn circles. We'll just go all the way to the fence. So I'll lope this time in the right lead. We'll go one-handed. She's been wanting to drift a little to the right, going this direction. I'm just going to open the door. She's going right a little bit. I'm going to bring her back a little bit more. I'm going to bring her back a little bit more. Now I'm going so far that time there, I'm not trying to hold this mare on that line with my right leg either. I'm going to set my hand centered over this horse's neck. I'm going to try to be balanced on my horse, but I'm not going to close the door with my right leg. I want this mare to get where she'll lope that and I don't feel like I have to hold her. So going this direction, she feels really good. She's not drifting to the right at all as I'm loping north. A little bit of drift here going south. Right here centered. Pick her up right there. Pick her up right there. Okay, that time her whole body went. So as I get down here, I'm just going to move her off my leg a little bit. Lope back down here. I'm going to stay in the right lead, and I'll lope back down again from this end. right here on this same path. So it wasn't just her shoulder that was going that time. It was her whole body. Shoulder's going a little bit. There she came back. Now she feels pretty good right there. Okay, look here, she's drifting again. So as I get here, I'm just gonna get her off. I'm gonna take her whole body off my right leg. Come back. We'll lope down here again. Drifting a little bit there with the shoulder. Feels really good right there. So instead of making this a big ordeal, I'm just thinking, how many times do I have to lope down here? I'm going right for this post. So one time on the first half of that, before I got to the halfway point of the arena, she was drifting a little bit with her shoulder. I picked her up. I'm able to lift that shoulder and bring her up just one-handed if I need to. Two-handed would probably look more like that, or could even be like that. But then when I came back to center and set my hand down, she didn't drift to the right anymore that way. I feel like for what I'm after with my horses and what I'm trying to get my horse to think, if she starts drifting right here, I could easily keep this mare on that line and never pick my hand up just off my leg. But I don't want my horse leaning on my leg. I want to take that leg off and just sit centered on my horse and see if my horse, when I say off, I don't have my leg way out here, but I'm not holding her like that either. My leg's just hanging right there beside her, one on each side. Would she stay on her own between my legs sloping down there, or do I feel like I have to hold her? If I hold her the whole time, what I'm probably gonna have to do is just make that a habit, or somewhere down the road, I'm gonna have to get firm enough with my right leg to really get that mare to wanna get off my leg. I feel like if I open the door and I let her drift down here some, and when she ends up over there, then I finish it with this and bring her that far over here off my right leg, and then go lope down and do it again. I just like to get this horse in a frame of mind where she's thinking, what do I have to do to avoid him using his leg like that? We'll try her one more time right here, loping back to the south. So right here's my line, looking at that post down there. I'm gonna move her over right there, see what happens. She's drifting way over here. I'm gonna let her go all the way to the corner. And then when she gets here, I'm gonna go way over here. We're gonna lope back there and try it again. Cold enough out here today. My reins are a little stiff. That rein keeps getting twisted on me. One more time right here, we'll see what happens. One time, move her over. All right, here's what was interesting. So I get down here, I picked her up there once, about even with the camera, and when I get about here, she was wanting to drift some, and I was trying to stay out of her way. I was going to let her drift all the way over here to the corner. If she would have gone, but as she started to go, as I got closer to the end, I could feel her thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to go over there. And then she was trying to come back to the spot I was trying to lope to. That's all I'm trying to do, guys. I'm just trying to get this mare to think about what I'm asking for as I lope down here. Now I'm going to step her off my leg. I'm just going to be a little bit quieter and a little bit more relaxed right there. She felt pretty good right there. If she does drift a lot, I'm probably going to be a little bit more firm about what I'm doing with that right leg as I get down there to the end. That felt really good. This arena's got a little bit of an incline to it. It's a little bit different loping this direction. Plus we got the barn. She lives right over there off the end of that barn behind the camera. So obviously that's going to be a pretty big draw for her. Just trying to stay centered over her neck. Again, she did the same thing. Now check this out. She did that on her own. I'm shooting for that post. She started to drift a little bit back there. And then as I got closer to the end of the arena, it's almost like she's thinking, oh shoot, I shouldn't be going that direction. If I go over here, maybe he won't side pass me down the fence like he was. And that's what I'm after, guys. I'm just trying to figure out a way I can come out here and ride my horses every day in a manner that's going to get my horse's mind to where they're thinking about what I'm asking for, and they're trying to maybe ask themselves, what could I do to make this easier for both of us? Obviously, as the horse, what could I do to where he's not doing all that with his right leg? And then give my horse enough practice, enough repetition to where they can go figure that out, but not be trying to micromanage and do everything for them to the point where they constantly rely on everything I'm doing, and there's never much incentive for them to think about what they could be doing on their end to make this better for both of us. So that might give you guys some things to think about. Yes, I'm going to bend my horse quite a bit, but I'm going to use that to the point where when I straighten that horse up, I don't feel a lot of brace. If I've got a lot of brace in my horse's body that I can feel from one side to the other, guys, when I get him here, if that shoulder does go to the right or to the left a little bit, if I try to push it back, I can't just get that piece to move back separate. The whole darn horse is going to go because that whole side is braced on that horse. So hopefully this is something, if you guys will play around with it, this is going to lead to me working more on my stops, but I'm trying to get this mare where she'll travel pretty straight before I focus too much on the stopping. So maybe down the road we'll come in and we'll work on this some more and let you guys see what it looks like if I throw some stops in there. But for today, I just wanted to show you guys this right here, if my hand is right there and I'm asking this horse to go that direction, nothing should change in this horse. If that horse gets to that fence right there in front of the camera, the horse should just stop if my hand is right here, okay? So thank you guys for tuning in today. I think what we're gonna try to do on our next episode, so I've got a young kid here that is riding some horses here, and he's into the jumping, he's into the eventing discipline. So as you can see, we've got some jumps set up outside the arena, and he had me out there the other day in one of his little saddles trying to go over those jumps on this horse, and it was entertaining. And I thought, man, we probably ought to video this, because we had 3 jumps set up, and when she got to the second one, she just loped right through it like it wasn't even there. So we might try that for our next episode, just give you guys something to think about, where maybe we can even challenge this horse a little bit to step way outside her box and see what she's willing to do for us. So thanks again for tuning in to this episode of Riding Horses. We'll see you next time.